from Abuja.
Hello, thank you for being a part of our show. I appreciate you. I'm Magnus Packle, and this is Magnus Packle GVA. As you know, it's all about how we can raise the level of living. That's what it's all about. In view today, is Nigeria facing a bumpy economic ride? We bring you a discussion with Dr. Bright Okogu, Director General Budget Office of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But before that, in our hidden economics, the not much talked about factors for Africa to keep rising. But up next, we bring you some business and development indicators in our quick view. That's coming right up. The road transport industry is a backbone for strong economies and dynamic societies. The transport industry is indeed instrumental in connecting all businesses to major markets around the world and serves as a driver for creating employment and ensuring an efficient distribution of wealth and a good quality of life. In this connection, rating countries by the number of road vehicles per 1,000 inhabitants, where road motor vehicles include automobiles, SUVs, trucks, vans, buses, commercial vehicles, and freight motor vehicles. Which of the following countries has the highest number of motor vehicles per 1,000 inhabitants in the world? United States of America, France, Germany, and the United Kingdom. Which of the following African countries has the highest number of road motor vehicles per 1,000 inhabitants? Nigeria, Ethiopia, Libya, and Zimbabwe. Stay with us for our answers coming up shortly. Still in view, our discussion with Dr. Bright Okogu on the bumpy ride facing Nigeria. But up next in our hidden economics, intangibles for Africa to keep rising. Recently, I mentioned that it appears Africa is indeed rising, but slower than before. The great Shakira in her hit song, This Time for Africa, confirms it all.
You're on the front line, everyone's watching. You know it's serious, we're getting closer, this isn't over. The pressure's on, you feel it, but you got it all, believe it. When you forget up, and if you forget up, cause this is Africa.
As she says, we are on the front line and everyone is watching. We are back in the saddle. You know it's serious. We're getting closer. This isn't over. Yes, we believe Africa is rising. Even so, never mind any progress made in terms of economic growth, Africa continues to show the paradox of widespread poverty in the presence of an abundance of human and natural resources. Several factors explain the paradox. First, there is no serious attempt to fight poverty. Many of our leaders are so afraid of poverty, so much that when they mention the word poverty, they appear to be talking in hush-hush voice. Focus on fighting it and you will get the right mix of arsenal to use. And it is not handouts or only welfare. In Africa, we have not declared war on poverty like President Lyndon Johnson did in the United States in just the 1960s. If you don't plan on income security for the people, you are not planning on development with inclusive growth. Africa may in fact stop growing when there are more unemployed youth than the rest of the population. Across Africa, this group is getting relatively impoverished and resentful, and they can react. Many intangibles, like applicable software development, science and technology development, emotional intelligence and discipline, and organizational skills development can play unbelievable roles in comparison to just sending our raw materials east and north. Now, knowledge can become the most important raw material, as the value chain in knowledge access and knowledge sharing can be much longer. There is a scandalous absence of ethnic and religious neutrality in politics, because Africa practices a politics based on personalities, their religion, and what ethnic group they come from. With all these, can the rise get even slower, or can Africa stop rising? Yes, if we don't reduce these hindrances and begin to intensify the development and application of some intangible assets and resources. Number one among these is human capital development. Our boys and girls have to recall the great Mr. T, as he would say, "Don't be a fool, stay in school." To curb poverty, much of our capital hidden in the dust of our informal economy will have to be legalized, using our laws and access to capital. Consider this. In Africa, women are overrepresented in the informal marketplace. Just promote the sale of African fabric for women across Africa and watch how liberating from poverty this can be. To top it, nothing looks more radiant and beautiful than a woman in African fabric and style. So, who would put all this together? The African politician and leader. That's who will put it all together. To get the economics right and keep Africa rising, the politics must be right. Like in a military formation, are the politicians and leaders paying attention? Because as Shakira says, it's our time to shine. People are raising their expectations. Our hidden economics for you.
Listen to your God, this is our motto. Your time to shine, don't wait in line y vamos por todo. People are raising their expectations. Don't wanna feed them, this is your moment, no hesitation.
Before we start our discussion in view, here are our quick view answers. The country with the highest number of motor vehicles per 1,000 inhabitants in the world is the United States, with 809 vehicles per 1,000 persons. Libya is the African country with the highest number of road motor vehicles, with 290 vehicles per 1,000 persons. Suddenly, Nigeria, the largest economy in Africa and one of the fastest growing in the world, appears to be facing a bumpy road, with oil prices rapidly trending low, the naira weakening, and general elections around the corner. To discuss what Nigeria may have to do to face and survive the ride, we have Dr. Bright Okogo with us. Dr. Okogo is the Director General Budget Office of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The DG holds a PhD from the University of Oxford, following his BSc and MSc in economics from the London School of Economics. Dr. Okogo worked at the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and was later a senior economist at the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Of course, along the way, he was also a lecturer at the University of Jos. Please join me in my discussion with Dr. Bright Okogo. Well, thank you, Dr. Okogo, for being in our Magoni studios. I believe this is the first time that you are coming to our studio. We're very happy to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Now, we are in interesting times, from the things that we see. And now, with oil prices trending down, Boko Haram making noises out there, the election coming up, are we okay?
Thank you for the invitation. First time I'm coming here, yes. In the life of any nation, you are bound to face challenges. And these challenges come in different types. I can say to you that we are okay under the circumstances. Yes, the security challenges have been there for a few years now, and the government, as you probably will be aware, is putting in its best to check the insurgency and to bring peace to the area. And that's really critical, because there are human beings living in those places. They are not just, they are Nigerians. So the idea is to see what best government can do to ensure that the ordinary persons in those areas, they enjoy peace. So government is doing well, doing its best. We always can do better in any human situation. We can always do better, but we are doing what we can. On the issue of the oil price that is trending downward, as you said, that is correct. But that is one of those things that is totally outside of the control of the oil producer. The price is given from the international oil market through the forces of demand and supply. And, that is something that we have envisaged over the years, which led us to the establishment of the excess crude account a long time ago as one of the major initiatives of government to ensure that you have some cushion in times of difficulty such as this. So that is there. We do have some. It's come down from the level that it used to be. But I want to say to you that this is playing the role that it was meant to play in the first instance.
Okay, well, it's good that you said that we're doing okay. And I also like the fact that you talked about the people, because the government should be about taking care of the people. And I like the fact that you talked about, how the people would fare in circumstances like this. But I think that the way Nigeria is, being, I guess, similarly intrinsically and almost completely tied to the vicissitudes of the oil market, that when Nigerians see the price of oil tumble a little bit, drop a little bit, I may not even say tumble, but drop a little bit, but significantly, they get scared. They know that this is their income that is declining. It's the only source of it, because we have not diversified our economy. We have not properly diversified our economy. We're still pretty much dependent on the oil industry. And then, as you said, because we cannot control oil prices because they're outside of our control, we then have to face the music. We face the music, as though without recourse. I mean, there's not much we can do. This is what has happened. This is what has happened. And in that situation, how can we say that the people will be okay? In light of what you said, how can we say the people will be okay since we can't control what's happening in the market?
I need to make the point very clearly.
Yeah.
The issue about not having fully diversified is well known, but we are not at the level we were 20 years ago. The GDP of Nigeria has just been rebased earlier in the year, and it now shows that agriculture that we used to think was bigger than this, agriculture now, instead of 33%, is now 22% share of the GDP. Services that were thought to be quite small is now 51% share of total GDP. Then you have areas like telecoms, which didn't show up very much.
Is that good?
And now about 7%. It's good. Because what it shows you,
for services, that's good.
Oil that used to be thought to be much bigger, oil is much smaller now than 15%. Yes. So what you are looking at is that you have an economy that is more diversified than we used to think. The issue which you are raising is really the government revenue. Because there are two things here. The first one is the diversification of the entire economy. Yeah. which is the GDP, the areas where people earn their livings from. And then you are looking at the revenues of government, which is a fiscal account. And that is where you are right. We are having between 67 and 70% dependency on oil for the revenues of government, at least at the federal level. Good. So yes, we do know that we have this challenge. Will the people be all right? As I said at the beginning, there is no country that has what you can call a straight line path to development, or in fact in its economic history. Economic cycles are known to happen in this manner. It is how you try to cope with the situation as a people that really matters. Good. Which is why government has come up now.
I want to go back to when I said services, when you said 51%, and I said, is that good? The reason I asked that is, what I would have wanted you to mention, perhaps, is what's happening with manufacturing, especially given the stage of our development. That you have a country like ours, you're right, contribution from crude petroleum has gone down, while it has been shown to have gone down. A contribution from agriculture gone down from 42% or so. Then you have services. We call this whole area services. Those things that are in services, are they exportable?
Now, when you do this type of analysis, you are not necessarily looking at, because what you are describing is it exportable?
Yes.
Is it tradable? The answer is that not all of it is exportable. Not all of it.
Can we get foreign exchange from a good chunk of it?
Well, people, if you take a look at some of your financial services, you will be doing certain things for non-Nigeria-based persons, and you'll be earning foreign exchange. But the issue here really is not whether you are earning foreign exchange. The issue for me is whether there is a means of livelihood for people.
Yeah, because but the reason I asked it is because that's what I don't want to dwell on it, but I just want to make the point that people are spooked because they see oil prices going down. But if there was some other thing that was also bringing foreign exchange, then we would say, hey, you see, don't worry, you see, we have only one area here where prices are going down, but look at the other area that where we're selling stuff and prices are not going down there. But that does not seem to be the case. But I hear you. And I would say this right away, I think the economic team is doing a pretty good job. I think you guys are doing a good job.
Thank you.
There's only so much you can do, as you said, in the circumstances. But I think that you're doing as best as you can do. It's just that there are stark realities in a political economy like ours. Some of which, to be fair, you should not be held responsible for. Now, given that we're in terms of the so-called bigger political economy, we're facing an election coming up next year. How is that affecting your budgetary processes? I assume you are looking at the budget right now. I heard you want to revise your reference crude oil price to $73 a barrel. Could you have come down below 70, but because of the election, you better stay at 73?
Absolutely not. One thing you can say about this administration and the president in particular is that he has given a very free hand to the economic management team. He's been able to listen, and he listens very well. When you go to him to present the facts, he doesn't say to you, oh, elections are coming, let us do the wrong thing just because elections are coming. That's not his style. That is the reason, for example, when over the years, people have talked about, keep the oil price at a level that we believe it shouldn't be. And we've tried to stand our grounds very clearly with the support of Mr. President by saying, based on our knowledge as professionals, we do think that the oil price benchmark should be at such and such a level. The elections are already upon us. Yes, we do recognize that. But that is not driving what you are doing. Just to illustrate to you, in most countries, when you have elections approaching, you have governments going ahead to spend just to try to impress the public, even though it's going to put your situation in a very tough place that you don't want to be. Yeah. But we've managed. If you look at all the rating agencies who have assessed the Nigerian economic situation, especially in recent times, Fitch rating agency gave us excellent rating because they looked at the fiscal accounts. They look at the budget and how it is being managed. They look at the reality that even though the elections are here, we are holding firm to a good fiscal position. And that was one of the things they cited in granting Nigeria the BB minus with a positive outlook. So these facts speak for themselves, that we are not, because we could easily have said elections are coming, put it at $79 or $80 per barrel, even though the facts may be contrary. Yeah. No. So I want to reassure you and Nigerians that we are not being doing what we are doing, driven purely by consideration of politics. Of course, Nigeria must go forward, and we are looking at the economic benefits that you will get from the budget.
Now, the Brent price is now under $80. WTI is well below $80 a barrel, very threatening your reference price. If by next week, as Director General, if by next week it comes to $70, what do you do? Nigeria's major problem right now is mostly with uncertainty over the coming general elections, a significant drop in crude oil prices, the ability to contain terrorism, and a serious insurgency. For any people or country, an insurgency from within can be difficult to contain. Overall, I believe that President Jonathan and his economic team have done well by being able to generate an economic growth rate as high as it is, averaging around 6% over the past 4 years, in spite of continued insurgency and terrorism. However, can the country easily overcome the effects of a rapid drop in crude oil prices at this time? The truth is that in the short term, Nigeria's capacity to withstand a rapid drop in oil prices is quite limited. As of today, Nigeria's fortunes are clearly and inextricably tied to the vicissitudes of the oil industry because Nigeria did not continue to aggressively diversify the economy. This evidence is clear. This must begin to happen. The economy has to be diversified and with active government involvement, not in the nationalization of enterprises, but in catalytic funding and investments. I also believe that Nigeria should carefully re-evaluate its continued membership in OPEC. Of the 12 largest crude oil producers worldwide, only 6 are members of OPEC. Nigeria needs increased capacity and flexibility in the production of crude oil. However, most of all, what we need now for steady economic progress through this period is stability in prices, including stability in the exchange rate, especially since our foreign reserve level is still high at around $38 billion and can support about 8 months of imports. It is clear, therefore, that psychology is the primary culprit in the weakness of the Naira. I think that with proper economic guidance, the bumpy road may not be undrivable after all. However, we are in an election season. I'm Magnus Paco, and that's my view.
I